Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, let's talk. Hey, I just parked. This is Wednesday. I went back to work this morning. Got all my DOT stuff. That's an interesting story about that. What I want to talk about today is how to work your time, work your hours, work the hours that you want and how to do it. Stick around. Let's talk about it. All right, now first let's talk about my DOT. I had, you see, where I'm blind on my right eye, and the law changed last year. I'm classified as monocular. There are certain criteria that I need to pass in these tests to prove to the government that I am safe to operate a commercial vehicle. And then I have to take that vision. I got to pass the vision exam and then go to the DOT. So I went to the DOT, or the eye doctor, on Monday. We filled out the same form we did last year, and I went to my DOT physical. They told me the form has changed. So I had to fax the eye doctor the updated form, and I asked them to fill it. This is late in the day now. It's like after 5. Both offices close at 5:30. I asked them if they could please just fill that out with the same information and just shoot it back over. They closed at 5:30, so I didn't get no fax back. So the next morning I called them. Luckily, I added an extra day because I was going to go back to work on Tuesday morning, get everything done on Monday, and come back to work Tuesday. But then I was like, let me add an extra day just in case. So I did, and luckily I did. So I called them back on Tuesday morning, asking why did they fax it back over. They told me since that form is asking more questions, there's another test they got to do to me. It's a peripheral test. I was wondering why they didn't do that initially. Renewing this stuff. I don't remember what all happened last year because it was kind of just a blur. But I'll know for going forward. So anyhow, I had to go back because my physical was fine. My physical was fine, but he could not give me my medical card. The DOT guy could not get my medical card, saying that I was good to go without having the correct vision form. So I went back to the doctor. They had to do a peripheral vision test. Stick my head in the thing, and lights pop up everywhere, and I click a button every time I gotta look straight ahead every time I see a light, click it. So out of the one eye, basically from like plane to plane, it's 180 degrees. Imagine 360, half of that's 180. But when you're doing one eye and your nose is blocking, realistically you got about 170 degree vision plane, right? I'm 160 degrees. So I'm well above the threshold for the federal government saying that I'm safe. So anyway, I got all that stuff, went back to the DOT guy, where I had to fax it over to him, and then by the time I got there yesterday, everything was good. I got my medical card, I got my DOT physical, got all that stuff shipped off to my company and the DMV of my state, and I'm good. I'm legal again. But I just parked. I left out this morning at 6:45 when I went on duty, did my pre-trip, and I pulled out of my spot where I was about a little after 7 a.m. And what I mean about managing your hours, work when you want to work. Here's why. I like working the day shift. I like hitting the road about 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning. And I'm usually parked by 5 or 6 at the latest. Now, this morning, I went from where I was. I had to go to a Rural King in Waverly, Ohio, as I was scheduled for a live load. Fortunately, they had my trailer loaded, so I wound up swapping my live load for a preload pickup, which was awesome. I drove to where I was supposed to get fuel. The EFS system was down. EFS is electronic fuel service or system, which is how the companies pay for all the fuel you get with their cards and all that. So I couldn't get fuel there, so I had to push it. I'm in a stretch of road in West Virginia, down 77, that doesn't have a lot of fly-in J's and pilots, which is what my company Schneider uses. So I wound up filling up in the Loves. I get to a Loves in Virginia. I just filled up in the Loves. I'm gonna send them an email explaining to them what happened. So then when I pulled out of the Loves, about 20 miles down the road, there was a Flying J. Now it wouldn't be as bad if I'd have stayed in the same network, but I needed fuel. My fuel light came on, so I wasn't going to risk it. But anywho, I pull into this Flying J down here in Mount Airy. I'm only 95 miles away from drop-off, which I'm scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for a live unload. So I parked. I've been here about an hour now, But I walked out. I like this little place. It's not like a true Flying J. It's a travel center that was privately owned, and they just went Flying J Travel Plaza, added their fuel and stuff to it. But this place has got a nice little restaurant in it, good food. I had a hamburger steak, and I even had a piece of fish, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese. Nice little dinner. But now I parked, and I went off duty about 4:45. I'll tell you exactly. I went off duty at 5:05. Now, you have to take a 10-hour rest in order to reset your clock for the next day. So, technically, my 10 hours will be up at 3:05 a.m. Right? Am I going to start working on that 10-hour spot? Hell no. Guess what my alarm clock's set for? 5:30. Guess what? I know I'm 2 hours away. Guess what time I'm going to hit the road? Probably 6:30. Now I'll get there by 8:30. Get in the door by 9. Get unloaded. Now I could get up at 3, right on my 10, get back to work. But then imagine that cycle. Now that 3, I'll probably wind up parking about 3 in the afternoon. 10 from that point, it'll be 1 a.m. Let's say I do that again. And again, I keep losing. I'm on a freaking shitty ass schedule where I'm working night shift, day shift, split shift, mid shift, morning shift, night. No, I'm not going to do that. And don't let your company make you do that. No, you control your hours. If you're comfortable working night shift, hey, if you want to work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. or whatever, hey, drive night shift. If you like day shift like I do, drive day shift. You don't have to be back on duty on your 10. Now, you want to look at your loads and your load times, your delivery schedules and all that too. What time you got to be there, because you want to make sure you don't fail the delivery, meaning be late, just because you decide to work a certain time. So, for example, if my load time was a 7 a.m. pickup, I would have drove to a Love's, which is 20 miles from the place. I would have got up there. I would have got up at 5:30. I'd have been 30-minute drive away. I'd have been there at 7. So depending on your schedule, where you got to be, what time you got to be, you need to adjust that accordingly. Make sure you know your route. You know what's going to happen, and how much time you need to drive, and how much time you have to drive, or you have to drive to get to where you want to be. I just wanted to point that out because I tell you what, when I first came out, when I started thinking about the changing the career of the truck driving, I think I might have said this before, I really believed I was going to be a nighttime driver. Why? Because historically throughout my life I've been a nocturnal creature. And I felt like, you're coming out here your first time, maybe a little nervous. I was like, maybe it might be a little better, less traffic to deal with. Which is what I like driving the evening time when I was driving my taxi, because of less traffic. I can get from one side of town to the other in 5 minutes. On nighttime, daytime take 30. I had that same principle in mind. But no, I just don't want to work night shift. I'm an old man. I like my schedule. And so whatever schedule you want to work, just work it. Put in your 4 hours. Use up as much of your drive clock as you can before you have to park. Hopefully you're not on the ground a lot to where you eat up into your 14. If you can finish your day within the your 11-hour drive time from expiring before the 14 even kicks in, you're doing good. Maximizing your mileage by driving, which means make more money. That's all it's about. Now, the reason I point this out is because I've had some questions about managing hours. The thing about those hours is you're going to get 70 hours to work straight. That's when you start off with your day. You get 8 hours before you have 8 hours of drive time before you have to take a 30-minute break to get 3 more hours of drive time, which gives you a total of 11. But regardless of what happens, you cannot work for any more than 14 hours in one day. You just can't do it. Then you got to take 10 hours off for that to reset for the next day. So after you're done working 5 or 6 days, you can't work any more than 70 without taking what they call a 34-hour reset, DOT reset. And once you take that 34 hours, once you're out 34 hours consecutive, your whole 70 starts over, you get back to work. Now, the reason, Schneider, you get a lot of messages out here about safety and tips and tricks and just important information through the tablet. So there's a lot, I've seen a lot of, I haven't seen one in a while, but there's a lot of messages for a while saying, did you know that drivers that start before 7 a.m. get more loads, make more money, are more productive? didn't really affect me much, 'cause that's what I'm doing. Now, and I was talking to a team leader the other day, and I've told y'all before, I've yet to wait on a load, maybe 30 minutes. And that's, like I said, when I was on a live load, we didn't know how long it was going to take, or a live unload or whatever. So you can't really schedule something when you don't know how long something's going to take. So once I knew, I would let them know, and within 30 minutes I had a load. And this team leader I was talking to, my team leader's out on medical right now, so I got an acting team leader right now. I said that to him there before I went on my home time. He was like, "Really? Wow." He's like he don't hear that from nobody else. Here's the thing: you can't expect to come out here with any company. If you don't do the work, if you're not doing the work, you're not going to get the loads. So either you need to figure out why. If you're not getting the loads, look at yourself. You're held accountable, period. If you can't deliver the loads on time, if you're not going to be productive while you have a load and run your clock correctly, regardless of what schedule you're doing, you got to be able to log the miles. And I think it's easier to get loads if you're in here in day shift, because if you're on night shift, I mean, what's left? I mean, the planners are going to try to schedule everything they have as soon as they can, right? They're going to look on the clock, down their list, who's available, and when they're the earliest available, and going down the list. And I think they also know the drivers that are pushing, who are working, who are grinding, who they can depend on to get the deliveries made. Maybe I'm overthinking that part of it, but if I'm a dispatcher, or I used to be a dispatcher, I had drivers that I would rely on. Granted, this is a much bigger scale, so they probably don't know who the hell I am. They don't remember. They don't know my name or my driver number off the top of their head. They might. I don't know. I don't know who does the planning. I ain't seen none of them or talked to any of them. So the point of this video is to work the schedule you want to. Now, how you do that is when you first get out here, your very first load, start at that time. I would say work a week on that timeline, work a week on a different timeline, do 3 weeks, 3 different timelines. Which one works for you? And stick with it. That way you know when you're going to be off or when you're not going to be off. But if you like that rotating crazy crap around there and changing up, hey, you go ahead, more power to you. I ain't doing it. I'll just spend more time hanging out at the truck stop, talking to people, bullshitting, laying back in the sleeper. Somebody's going to say, hey, you're out there in the truck anyway, you might as well work while you're at it. But you know what? That's true. I work hard while I'm out. I grind hard while I'm out here. I run. Today, I did 398 miles. And right now, I had 3 hours left on my 11. I could have drove 3 more hours. But now my 14 is down to 240. I mean, I could have kept going. I could have hit 500 miles easy. But again, I'm not scheduled at 9 a.m. in the morning, and I'm 95 miles away. So no point in going no further. And I've been to this truck stop before, and I like it. So I just went ahead and stopped. And I'm going to get up. I'll hit the road about 6:30. And I'll be there in plenty of time. Well, on paper. But there's always those variables you can't predict. Traffic, wrecks, I don't know, breakdowns. So outside of something abnormal happening, I'll be there in time. Anyhow, there you go. That's just all I wanted to say. Midweek video. I'm back to work. Hey, I'm psyched to be back to work because I got tired of sitting. After a couple of days of doing what I had to do for the medical stuff and hanging out with, having dinner with people and just, that's nice, but I just want to work. Anyhow, if you have any questions, if maybe I skipped something or went too fast over something and you want more clarity, you can always email me. My email is in my About Me section, or you can ask me in the comments. That helps the algorithms to do that. But you can email me too. I've had a couple people email me over the past few months. I don't mind that. So just in the subject, put I don't know, YouTube question or something. That way I'll open it without thinking it's spam. So there you go, guys. I appreciate all the support. And I had another driver. Two people said they're starting Schneider. One starting this week up in Green Bay, or next Monday up in Green Bay. Another one starting. He didn't tell me the other one didn't tell me where he's starting. So I've had about a dozen of y'all say you're starting because of me. And if I can help you, if I can help motivate you, and great, that's awesome. That's the whole point. Me going through going through my journey, sharing my experience with you, and if it motivates you to get in, awesome. I mean, I hope you have just as good an experience as me,
But if you don't think you are, look at the situation. Remember, I've said it before. You got to hold yourself accountable. You got to hold yourself accountable in learning. You got to learn. You got to do it the right way and do it the safe way, and overall the Schneider way. So, any questions, comments, leave them down below. Everybody have a good one. Thanks for watching.